is that there's still going to be more of him in the season as it continues. So after the mid-season finale, there's obviously the question of what has happened to him between the time that he leaves the police station and ends up dead on the autopsy table, which those of you who have watched the show, the episode last night, will know. So yes, that's kind of where I'm at. I guess I should probably answer some of your questions because they're starting to come up here. So so someone's asked me, what was your reaction when you found out your character was under the sheet? Yeah, it was. I was a bit sad. You know, I mean, I've been doing it for 3 years, so like, I'm very close with everyone on the show. We're all very tight. People say like it seems like a happy cast, and it really is. So that was kind of my first thought, but I guess my reaction when it came to it wasn't. You know, I wasn't blindsided, basically. I thought, like, from the first script, when it set up that someone was going to be under that sheet, I thought Wes would kind of be a good candidate because, you know, we've had a lot of Wes story, and I think it would affect Annalise, and it would affect the other characters, so I was kind of expecting it, and maybe that was me, I don't know, protecting myself to some degree and trying not to, you know, to ensure I wasn't going to be too disappointed if and when it came, as it did. But then I was kind of thrown off the scent by Asia, who plays Michaela, who said to me, I think it was around about it must have been the 3rd episode or something like that, and she said, now there's a bit in the 2nd episode which to me says that it can't be Wes, which is, I think it was the 2nd episode, which is where Annalise, on the kind of night of the fire, after she's had the news and she's kind of broken down and had that initial reaction, she goes to Oliver and asks him to clear the phone, the cell phone, so the records aren't on it. And Asia put it to me that was far too kind of composed, and that if it were Wes, her reaction would be so great that she wouldn't be able to do something like that. So I kind of bought it, obviously, because I was that was wishful thinking on my part. But when it kind of came to it was like the week before I actually got called into Pete's office. So Pete Nowalk's our showrunner, and I got a message from his assistant saying, would you go and see Pete? And kind of at that point I was like, oh, okay, I think I know what's going to happen here. So that was kind of, it dropped in for me then, but even a few days before that, I just had a weird kind of premonition. Just nothing in particular, nothing really to do with like the material of the show, but I just thought, oh, I think it is going to be me, for kind of mysterious reasons. But I don't know, it just occurred to me. So, you know, I was sad. I wasn't really surprised because, you know, by the time I stepped into that office, I was like, I think I know where this is going to go. But yeah, I guess the good news that came out of that is that I'm still around. You know, Pete told me I'd be in the rest of the season, so that was nice. So I still, on a personal level, I still get that satisfaction. But as far as Wes is concerned, I feel bad for him. But yeah, I should get on to another question. I'm sorry, I ramble, as you will find out if you haven't already. That was probably a good example in itself. Do I have theories on who did it, since Wes was apparently dead before the fire? Yeah. Goodness, I'm bad at theories. I'm serious. You guys don't want to be taking it from me, what I think happened, because I always get it wrong. And I was getting it wrong so much that I basically stopped guessing. I was like, I just feel stupid. Do I have theories on who did it? I mean, there are a couple of kind of candidates in my mind. I guess there's he's pissed off the Mahoneys, so that's dangerous. Like, I think, you know, the show's already kind of exposed that they're pretty ruthless, scary people, with the means to do something nasty to someone they want to do something nasty to. So they're probably a candidate. Him and Frank aren't exactly getting on for various reasons, and then kind of at the top of the season, I mean, anyway, crazy Frank. I almost swore then. I'm going to try and not do that. And his preposterous assassination of Wallace Mahoney. that always makes me annoyed, actually, because I'm like, come on, Frank, what is that as a plan? That's so drastic, and ultimately, I don't know, that feels like it's something West obviously didn't need to be dealing with in his life. And then there's the Laurel situation, so he's obviously pissed about that because he came, second. That's probably a lot of people are going to be annoyed that I said that, because I get that a lot of people are very into floral, as people call it. I think someone told me Wes and Laurel is called Worrell, which admittedly doesn't sound as good, but ultimately Laurel picked Wes, so I think people should deal with that. What are my feelings on Wes and Laurel's relationship? That's a perfect segue. What are my feelings on Wes and Laurel's relationship? I love it. I always, from the beginning, I thought these are two people who kind of have something a bit more in common. Asher always felt to me to be out on a limb with his own thing, which is what makes him kind of so hilarious to me. I find him very, very funny. But I always sort of saw, Wes and Laurel as kind of natural allies, I guess, to put it in those terms. And Connor and Michaela is kind of the other side. They kind of seemed much more ruthless and careerist, and Wes and Laurel seemed more my kind of people. I'm just speaking personally. I think there was kind of common ground between them. And really the thing that made it so satisfying when it came to happen in the show was the fact that Laurel was always the one who was there for Wes. Kind of at the end of the first season, Wes is kind of trying to work out if he can trust Rebecca or not, and the whole Rudy situation, and Laurel's the one who's there for him. And she supports him. And again, in the second season, when he's finding out about his past and his mum, and they go to Ohio, Laurel's there. So, still, when they wrote that kiss in the car in Ohio, I was like, what? I think Colin and I were both like, oh, okay. But I think it worked. I really liked it for Wes. I thought he was in a relationship that was helpful and healthy for him, and he obviously loved her, and she loves him, and it's just like, it felt like he was maybe going to get close to that now even more elusive than ever happy ending. So I was all for it, and I thought that was a pretty cool thing. But obviously that's ended in heartbreak. So bummer, I guess. Shannon, hi Shannon. Shannon asked me, was Wes angry, sad, or confused when he left the police station? What do I think? That's a good question. I mean, I try not, to a certain degree, come down and definitively. I don't know. I want people to have, a bit of space to make up their own minds about things in the show. But I think that moment where he sees Rebecca's photo is very. That's difficult for him, because that was so unresolved, and obviously it was something that was very raw for a long time, and he's tried to move on, and that feels like a bit of what his trajectory was in the third season. It was that he's trying to move on, and things draw him back, whether it's the Mahoney thing or that. So I think that really kind of shocks him. And I think there's probably an element of, I'm speaking vaguely because I don't want to be definitively say what people should think about it, do you know what I mean? But I think there's an element of guilt there. He's in a happy, loving relationship and has kind of got over it, and Rebecca's dead. That's difficult news. And then there's the fact that he's got to deal with the reality of the fact that there's a mounting investigation against Annalise, and obviously that has repercussions for him personally and the rest of the group and Laurel, and so there's a lot kind of going on. I think he gets out of there, because he's. Again, I don't want to speak too definitively, and I certainly don't want to speak to something that may yet be revealed. But he's. you know, he doesn't sign that paper, and the minute he leaves, he's got stuff to deal with. But we'll kind of see what that is as the rest of the season kind of transpires. Maria, hi Maria, is asking me if I have any plans for future television shows or movies. Yeah, I've got plans, lots of plans in my head. That's just about it. No, I do not currently have another gig, but I hope one will come along. I think I would love, you know, I've really enjoyed doing the show, and I'd never really worked on television before. And like before, I was mostly kind of doing plays in London, and theatre is something that's really very in my, you know, I don't want to say DNA because it sounds a bit wanky, doesn't it? But my first experience really of acting was, well, that's not true, obviously TV and films, but like I remember when I was like 8, I went to see my dad at the theatre, and that was something that really was a very kind of fundamental moment for me, and I like being on stage. So, I want that to continue to be part of my career, as well as hopefully getting the opportunity to still work in TV and hopefully do films and everything, really. I mean, it sounds greedy, but that's one of the nice things about being an actor. You get to work in lots of different media, and that's fun, that's exciting. Stretch yourself in different ways. And radio must be fun. I've got a mate who's doing a radio job. He's on the Archers, that might not mean anything to anyone here, but it's very big in the UK. It just sounds like a cool job. I don't know, it'd be kind of fun, do something different. Niles, hi Niles. Niles is asking me, what's the one thing I'll miss most about being on the show? Oh God. That's a sad question, Niles. I'm kind of not really thinking about that at the minute. What's the one thing I'll miss most? Mate, it's almost an impossible question to answer just because so much. I mean, I kind of have a very strange existence really at the minute, because I kind of have two lives, I kind of 7 months of the year I'm in LA shooting How to Get Away with Murder, and then, the rest of the time I was in Manchester doing a play actually this summer, but like back in the UK at least, and my life, I have two very kind of distinct lives. So it's a lot to lose, I guess, the fact that I'm not going to be heading out, in all likelihood, back to LA to shoot the season 4, if indeed it gets picked up, but fingers crossed, right? I want to see what happens next now as a kind of viewer. Is kind of very difficult to come to terms with. What's the thing I'll miss most? Damn it. The people. Yeah, I'm going to miss them all. Really great people, cast, crew, the writers, the production team. I mean, people often say, like, you guys seem like a really happy cast. It seems like you really get on for real. And we really do. But it's not just the cast, I feel very fortunate to have had the kind of pleasure to work with all these people across the board. So, yeah, they're what's really, that's the most. But telling that story and getting to play a character for a long time is great too. And I've loved being part of the show, and I love the effect it has and how engaged people feel with the story and how much people seem to love it. Like the fact that you guys are on Facebook now writing in questions for me to answer is a testament to the fact that the show engages people and people are into it, and that's kind of the objective of storytelling, right? You want to entertain people and engage them. So it's been a privilege to be part of it in many ways, but yes, probably more than anything else, those lovely, lovely, wonderful people. So Britt is asking me the next question. Hi, Britt. Britt, who did you originally think was under the sheet before you found out it was you? Is your question. I should have tied that into a sentence better, but grammar not a strong point necessarily on my side. So, Britt, I'm going to answer your question now. Who did I originally think was under the sheet before I found out it was me? Genuinely, one of my first thoughts at the very beginning was I was like, oh, it's Wes. Like, I think it'll be Wes. Then, like, Asia meddled and, kind of set me unawares. And then I was thinking, like, maybe it'll be Nate, maybe it'll be Frank. Like, I wasn't sure, but those two were kind of floating around in my mind along with Wes. Partly for, again, the reaction that it could have on Annalise, which I think, and the rest of the characters. I think that's one of the good things about the fact that it was Wes. Like, it has a big impact, hopefully, but I think it has a big impact on the other characters, and so I think that's kind of exciting. Nax, hey Nax, what was the first thing I did after I filmed the scene under the sheet? I cycled home. Which, actually quite quickly, though I say so myself. It's because at that point it was 1:40 in the morning. So we shot that first scene. I can't remember if it was a Friday or something, but kind of over the course of the shooting week, the call in the morning gets later because people have to have a turnaround, so you can't just work people back to back to back. You can't work a 14, 15-hour day and turn up at the same time the next day. You want to guarantee that the cast, the crew get a bit of a rest, the ADs who have to be there, from start to finish. So so the shooting call gets pushed later and later. So it was towards the end of the week. So it was a latish call. So we ended up finishing about midnight, just after midnight. But it was so much prosthetics that it took me an hour and a half to get it off, and half an hour of continuous showering, just like scouring myself with like little towels to get it all off. So that was a real mission. And then at the end of that, I was pretty much the last person there. I think Transpo were getting rid of because we were on location, so they were taking the trailers back to the base camp. And I had very kind of naively, I guess, cycled to work. So I was like, well, I got to get on my bike. But I was working the next day kind of early and actually had a scene. I didn't just have to be dead. So I really kind of legged it on the bike. Yes, that was the first thing I did. I cycled home. I had another shower because I got sweaty cycling back. Went to bed and went to work very early in the morning. Beverly, hey Beverly, how you doing? You're asking me whether I think the Keating 5 will change dramatically now Wes is gone. I hope so. Do you know what I mean? You kind of want to have an effect. You want people to notice you're gone, I guess. But I mean, I guess in one sense it will dramatically change because I guess they're now the Keating 4. So that's something fundamental. Unless, because like Oliver's more in there now, isn't he? So like, I guess he could just kind of like swoop in. That'd be sad. Like I'd like him to be the Keating 4, like plus Oliver. Oliver and the Keating 4 would be a good like band or something. Yeah, do I think it will change dramatically? I think it has to be a big change to some degree at least because of what. But it's difficult to lose someone, and especially someone you're seeing day in, day out. I mean, I guess there's kind of a parallel with the situation of the characters in our situation. I'm going to be gone and we shoot 7 months of the year, and day in, day out, we're all there together, doing courtroom scenes, doing scenes at the legal clinic, wherever it is. So it's going to be strange for me to be gone, but, I know from when we lost Katie in the first season, who played Rebecca, like, it's strange. It's strange to go back and have one of the family missing. And I think, there's a parallel there with what the situation will be for the characters, only the situation for them is even more drastic. Because one of them has been killed. So now they're not just worrying about getting thrown in jail, I guess. They're kind of trying to figure out who did it and if they're going to come for them, if they're safe. So it kind of ratchets up the stakes. And for Laurel, yeah, it's big, isn't it? Losing someone you love and in a relationship with. And I mean, goodness, it's kind of unfathomably depressing, really. But yeah. So I think it will change them, but I'm going to be interested to see how. So I've got a few more. This is from Gail. Gail is asking me, how difficult is it to maintain the proper accent when taping, and how long did it take you to master? Gail, I'm London born and raised, right? So I am going to take a little bit of issue with the term "the proper accent." but I'm going to just assume the proper accent for Wes. How difficult is it to maintain? It's not actually very difficult anymore, which I'm not sure I ever would have said that. The reason I some of you might know, but I kind of do something a bit odd. I basically put on the American accents, like flicky a switch, that I do for Wes, pretty much when I go through security at Heathrow. So at the very beginning of the season, as I leave the UK, I go through security and I start speaking in an American accent. And I stay doing that until shooting wraps. The only reason I'm not doing it now is that when I do something public, I switch back to my British one. But with, excluding these exceptions, I'm doing that accent all of the time. Like I think in it, I talk in it all the time. When I switch back at the end of the season, it happened last season, so after we wrap, I go back to my British accent. I was talking like that for a bit. I went to bed, I woke up in the morning, was talking to my roommate. About 3 hours into the day, I realized I was back to American. So it becomes utterly instinctive, and hopefully convincing because of that. But that was the aim, because I'd never worked in the accent before. I wanted to make it as good as it can be. I didn't want to, ruin the show for people because I sounded funny or didn't sound right. So it was something I was very determined to get right and kind of spent time working on. So it took a lot of work, and that is one of the hardest things, to say you're going to do it the whole time, because socially it's a bit bizarre. We were doing the pilot when I kind of first started doing that, and I had thought about doing it initially, and the first person I met was Matt McGorry, and I just in the entrance of the hotel in Philly that we were staying at, and I saw him, and I'd Googled him, and he Googled me, so we recognized each other even though we'd never met. And I was like, "Hi!" And I just my resolve to speak in American disappeared immediately because I was like, "It's too weird." So I kind of talked like this for about 3 days, and I decided that it's going to help me to do the accent the whole time. So I thought, I have to do it. If I think it's going to make my work better, I've got to do it. So I just came down one morning and I was talking American. I was like, "Hi everyone, I'm going to talk like this now," which was so awkward. I can't even begin to explain how awkward it was. So that's how difficult it was. It was so difficult that I did that. And I would go to Dunkin' Donuts in the morning before we shot in Philadelphia and order a muffin or something, but I'd do it in the accent, and I'd be like, "Oh, I'm gonna get rumbled, they're gonna tell I'm putting it on." It was so it's a very difficult thing before you're confident in it, but it really helped. So that's kind of how hard it was, but that's what enabled it to become instinctive and easy. I've even been told that I sleep talk in the accent, so I think it's become pretty normal now. Jennifer, hi Jennifer. If I wasn't cast as Wes, which character would I have wanted to play? That's a great question, Jennifer. I mean, giving a fantasy answer or a kind of real one, because I don't think they're about to cast me as Annalise Keating, but that looks really fun. But I wouldn't want to rob the world of Viola's performance there, so that give both. Okay. Look, it would be really fun to be Annalise Keating. She has some great wigs, some great outfits, and she's just looks really cool all the time because she says cool stuff and shuts people down. And she's, as the script frequently reminds us, she is badass. So that would be pretty cool. That's obviously not going to happen in a million years. So in a more realistic world, it's clear from what I'm saying that this is my own wishful thinking and not I wouldn't want to rob you guys of anyone's performances because the work everyone does is so good. But a lot of the time I thought it'd be fun to be Asher because he's so funny, but I'm not funny. That's my wishful thinking again. It'd be fun to be Asher if I was as funny as Matt, but I just wouldn't be very funny, so it wouldn't be very good. So that would be kind of cool. Or Connor, Connor has some good biting lines, and can be a bit of a dick in a very like charismatic, fun way. I think that would be fun. So I don't know. Maybe I would have liked to play Connor, but I think they got it right. Last question. Okay. Gina. Hi, Gina. You are asking me, will we find out soon who killed Wes? Come on, Gina. You want me to ruin it for everyone and for you? If you watch it and like it, you're going to want to find out properly and not just be told by me. Not to mention the fact that I actually don't know, so I really couldn't tell you. But you will find out soon enough. Stay with it. It will come. Yes, and that's me. That's it. I'm out. So it just remains for me to say thank you. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for asking those questions. Thank you for your support of the show, because that's the thing that I think is really terrific. The fact that you guys buy into it and invest in it and stick with it through all the twists and turns and crazy things and, you know, upsetting things that happen. So I hope you guys keep enjoying it and keep staying with it. But it was a pleasure talking to you guys. So